So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Huki back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, September 6th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Monday, September 6th here today, coming off of another big weekend of sports, a very big weekend this weekend in sports. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend and all of that. It was an awesome weekend in sports this weekend. It was a great weekend. I mean, just a ton of sports were on. Baseball, football, college football is back. It was great to see. Although, Miami got destroyed, and although, there was some, really good games, and, although Miami didn't play well, and we'll get to them and all that stuff, it was overall just a great weekend for college football, and it was great to see. It was exciting to have it back, and it was just awesome to have college football back. So it was a great weekend of sports. Labor Day today, September 6th, here today, coming off of, like I said, a big weekend. Yankees and Mets both played over the weekend as well. Another big baseball weekend. Like I said, this weekend was just packed, and I said it going into it. On Friday, I said there was going to be a packed weekend ahead. I'm going to say it again, today. It was awesome. It was a great weekend of sports, starting up on Friday with some college football games, and you had more games going into yesterday as well. You had, Saturday games, and you had games as well on, Sunday, yesterday with the Notre Dame, Florida State game. So it was a great weekend of college football. Great to see college football back and really rolling. Last season it was so weird with all of the, the COVID and, not having, any real, some places had fans, but if they did, it was minimal. Not having really many fans, not having much, just the energy, the excitement surrounding college football was not the same last season. It is much better this year, and it's great to see. Super excited about that. So college football was on over the weekend. Baseball is also on over the weekend as well. Yankees, very tough weekend for them. I mean, you lose 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. These are the things that just can't happen if you want to make the playoffs or if you want to win the division, which I will tell you this, I do believe we'll still make the playoffs. I think if you're a Yankee fan today and you're saying, oh, we're not going to make the playoffs, I think that's, I think you're getting a little too ahead of yourselves. But, I still do strongly believe that this team can make the playoffs. I still do. It was a tough weekend, though. I mean, it's a weekend, it was not a good weekend for baseball for the New York Yankees, and we obviously got to be way better than what we were. We did not show much, it just was not a good weekend overall. We have to be way better than what we were this weekend, and it's as simple as that. And I'll tell you what, we win yesterday if we don't put in Andrew Heaney, and it's as simple as that. All these people saying, oh, the hitting isn't good, and oh, this isn't good, or this isn't good. Guys, it's as simple as this. If the New York Yankees don't put in Andrew Heaney yesterday, we win that game, and we are coming on here today talking about the Yankees winning the series against Baltimore and now going to play Toronto, which will have a 1 o'clock game today Eastern, and that's what we're talking about today. So it's not hitting, it's not this, it's not that, it's not Judge, it's not Stan, it's not any of those guys. It's Andrew Heaney. He blew the game. Too many Yankee fans today are being outrageous trying to think of how he lost that game. People, we scored 7 runs yesterday, okay? We scored 7 runs and had 7 hits, okay? You can't do anything about it when you let up 4 runs in the late innings, when you let up 4 runs in the 7th inning and Andrew Heaney blows it. I mean, the offense did their job. We got a couple big hits. It was the pitching that blew it, and it's as simple as that. Too many Yankee fans today are being crazy and saying, oh, we're hitting, this guy's got to go, this guy's got to go. Guys, it's Andrew Heaney. He blew the game. Tough loss for the Yankees over the weekend. We got to bounce back. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You can't, as a fan, you can't dwell on this. As a player, you can't dwell on this. I mean, as a fan, we all got to be getting at least somewhere, somewhere to the point where we're getting used to this. The Yankees have been a streaky team all year long. I mean, this isn't any surprise. I mean, losing to the Orioles is definitely surprising. No matter how good or bad you are, the Orioles are the worst team in baseball, and I still live by that. But, I mean, the Yankees have been streaky this year. We go through stretches of hot and cold, and you could say that about almost any team, but especially the Yankees. And that's why our record is what it is, where it's not great, it's not terrible, it's not average, but it's just a little above average. We're just doing enough to win games and stay in the playoff hunt. And over the weekend, we struggled. It was not pretty. It was not good at all. But you got to hope that we could bounce back today. So Yankees, tough loss. Mets had an odd weekend, and their odd weekend continues. Not that they were losing and stuff, but they just have a really weird weekend with the just a really weird weekend with with the 5 games and the doubleheaders and stuff like that. So kind of a weird weekend for the Mets for sure. They were able to win. They had a weird game where they let up 9 runs. I'll tell you what, it's been a weird season for the Mets. And not that I'm going to use that as an excuse with their struggles, but it's been a super weird year for them. I mean, one minute they're playing a full game, next minute they're playing games in the pouring rain, then they're getting doubleheaders. I mean, it's just been a weird year for them. And they played this weekend as well. Like I said, a ton of sports on over the weekend. So they played as well. And so they played as well this weekend. As well, I'm not too sure exactly how they did. My thing here isn't loading. So they played as well. But let's get to the topics for today's podcast this weekend, or for over the weekend. So Mets over the weekend, I believe they did win yesterday. They did lose the first 2 games on. It's so confusing. They lost the one game and they split. Then they played Friday. Then they played yesterday. Then they play again today. So they got the job done yesterday. They play today. Kind of the final game of this super weird series against the Nationals. So we'll see how all that goes. All right. So let's get to the topic for today's podcast. A packed podcast this week. Today, it's football week. There is going to be NFL games on this weekend, and there's going to be an NFL game on Thursday. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I am. Yankees play tonight. Mets also play tonight. Then Thursday, Buccaneers, Cowboys to start us off. And then you got, over the weekend, you got Saturday will be all college football. Sunday will be the rest of the NFL. And then the Ravens-Raiders will play Monday night. So football's back, and it's game week. It's super exciting. So let's get to the topics. For the first topic today, we're going to get to the Yankees update. I want to get to the Yankees, talk about them, the struggles they had over the weekend, losing 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. Just not a good weekend for the New York Yankees. I'm going to get to their update, look at their upcoming schedule, kind of do what I would usually do if they were doing well. But this time, we're just going to talk about it because they're starting to struggle a little bit. So I want to get to them, talk about it. We're not in a lot of Yankee fans, and this is what always Yankee fans do. Like I said, I think the Yankees have one of the worst fan bases when it comes to just knowing things. People are comparing us, saying that we're in a massive slump right now. We're done for the season. Like, we're not done for the season. We're still in a wild card. Like, you just gotta look at. People just gotta look at the facts more. And people aren't doing that, and it's an issue because you're just laying a bunch of stuff out there that's not true. So I'll get to their updates and stuff like that. Then we'll get to fantasy football preview. I figured it's Monday. We got a football game in 3 days. I wanted to get to the preview, wanted to talk about kind of just, some, what to expect, some things like that, and so just kind of what to expect with fantasy football. I had a fantasy football draft last night. I'll go over my team there, go over my team in my other league, 2 leagues as well. Kind of what, talk about it, because I'll get to it on Thursday as well. Definitely we'll get to it on Thursday, given that it's the first game of the season on Thursday. Then Friday, I'll do my first round of game picks and fantasy football and all that. I'll give you advice, and I do that throughout the season. So I kind of want to give you a fantasy preview, just my teams, kind of just different players, and kind of get you ready for the entire season. And if you have not done your draft yet, just some more advice. So we'll get to that. Then we'll get to the New York Sports Update. We'll finish it all off with the New York Sports Update. Like I said, Yankees Mets today. Yankees start of a 4-game set against Toronto today through Thursday, so that should be good. And then the Yankees go. No, I shouldn't even say on the road, but then the Yankees play the Mets, and that's next weekend. So then the Yankees play the Mets next weekend, and that's, going to be exciting. They play the Mets next weekend, and that's a Subway Series, and, as a Yankee fan, you got to feel confident because the Mets are not a very good team this year, but as a Met fan, you could also say, oh, maybe the Yankees are slumping a little bit. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to actually be a big matchup for both teams, because very well, if the Mets go into that game with a really golden chance of doing something, very well, you could be sitting here and saying maybe that series is big for the Mets, and it's also could be big for the Yankees, but you got to see how the rest of the week plays out. So, a lot to get to, but with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So like I mentioned, results aside, this weekend in sports, and you can agree, no matter if the Yankees swept the Orioles, got swept, it does make the weekend maybe a little less just because, the Yankees lose and all that stuff. But results aside, this weekend overall in sports was amazing. And I want to just say that first. I mean, you had college football from Thursday, Friday, and then you had college football on Saturday, which college football on Saturday, I've always said it belongs on a Saturday. You get into the weekend, and maybe you have the Friday night games or something like that. Those are smaller schools relatively. Thursday night, you got football. Friday's kind of like you got some other college games, not many. And then you get into Saturday. That's the big day for college football. Then I've always said, Sunday's the big NFL day. You got college on Saturday and Sunday's NFL. And then Monday's also NFL, but there's only one game. But this weekend was awesome. You had baseball, college football, Yankees on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For all other baseball fans out there, you had all your teams. You had college football on over the weekend. You had just had a ton. So it was a great weekend. Although it was not a great weekend for the New York Yankees. It was a great weekend for me as a fan of just sports in general, just watching it. I know Miami got smoked. It was terrible. It was awful. It was terrible. And I have kind of jumped on the Fire Manny Diaz train. I think there should be moves that could be made definitely by the end of the season. And also here with the Yankees as well, but a great weekend overall. But it was not a good weekend for the Yankees, as the Yankees lose 2 out of 3. And don't get me wrong, I mean, this is bad. Losing 2 out of 3 to the Baltimore Orioles is something that I should not be saying today. I should not have to come on here today and say, the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 against the Orioles and talk about it because of how bad the Yankees were this weekend. The Yankees this weekend were just awful, and there's no other way to put it. We were not good this weekend. We played relatively well on Friday. Saturday was okay. We're not hitting much on Saturday. Gallo had the big hit, the 2-run home run that tied the game, and we weren't able to hang on. We ended up blowing it, late in that game, and we weren't able to win it. And then yesterday, things are going all as planned, and then we put Andrew Heaney in out of the middle of nowhere, and it just blows up right in our face. And too many Yankee fans today are trying to over-evaluate what happened over the weekend. Oh, this guy's not good, or this guy doesn't do well enough in these situations. Guys, everybody's got to stop. The reason the Yankees lost yesterday was not because of the hitting, was not because of the fielding. I know Gleyber Torres could have made that play and all that, but either way, that's besides the point. The reason we lost yesterday was the terrible decision-making from, I would tend to say it was probably Matt Blake, the pitching coach. Because Aaron Boone, once he's ejected, he can have no contact with the team. He can't go to the dugout and say something. He can't tell something to deliver the message. He can't call. He can't do that. This is common baseball sense. Once Aaron Boone is ejected, he has no say in anything the rest of the way. So this decision lied solely on Matt Blake, and Carlos Mendoza probably might have had the manager who took over for Boone during, that time of when he got ejected. But he's the bench coach. He's probably not going to have too much decision-making into it. It was probably Matt Blake. And I could sit here and, say many different things, but it was on Andrew Heaney this weekend. And I don't even know. I said this at the trade deadline. Because at the trade deadline, we, as Yankee fans, we were at a high. We got Rizzo, we got Gallo, we were all fired up. We were like, yes, we got him. This is great. This is awesome. And we went out and got Andrew Heaney. And I never understood the reason for it anyway, because it's not even like he was a good pitcher. Like, he wasn't good with the Angels. He comes to the Yankees, and he's not good here. I never understood it, and it's really coming back to bite us. Because not only when he was a starter was he blowing it, he's now blowing it coming out of the bullpen. And yesterday's game lies solely on Andrew Heaney. Nobody else, not the coach. I guess you could say the coaches, but not like Aaron Boone. Nothing. Andrew Heaney blew the game yesterday. And if you're a Yankee fan today getting up and you are upset about the hitting, or upset about an individual player, or upset about, the lineup, or upset about something else, you got to look at the facts. Because that's not the case. The reason the New York Yankees lost yesterday was Andrew Heaney. And he's been awful for us, and he continues to be awful. And there's no other way to put it. There's no sugarcoating to it. There's no, oh, well, his stuff looked good, but they were just destroying it. No. His stuff looks terrible. And, frankly, he's a guy that the Yankees shouldn't even be using. We should never even traded for him. We should have said, hey, we're good on our pitching. Our bullpen did just take a hit with Johnny Lasagna going on the IL, but, I mean, come on, really here? I mean, Andrew Heaney just blows yesterday. And you lose 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. And that's not good. You could still say you're in a division hunt. You could still say you're in the playoff race, but no matter what it is, losing 2 out of 3 to Baltimore is unacceptable. And as a Yankee fan going into this weekend, I was really optimistic. I mean, it's Baltimore. They're not a good team. They struggle. I still stand by that. No one could sit here today and say, oh, well, Baltimore's a real powerhouse. No, they're not. They're the worst team in baseball. They're not a real powerhouse. They're terrible. Their bullpen is awful. Their starting pitching is awful. In all fairness, outside of John Means, their pitching is terrible. It's awful. And the Yankees put Andrew Heaney in a game where it was close, and he just blows it. And Yankees lose 8-7 yesterday. I mean, look. It was what? I mean, look at it. Yankees put up 4 runs in the second inning. Gary Sanchez had the grand slam. Gary Sanchez had a great game yesterday. As much as I'm iffy with Gary Sanchez. I don't really think he's the future at catcher. I do definitely think that's an offseason in need. I said it last year. I'll say it again this year. Either way, that's besides the point. He had a great game yesterday. I mean, he had 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. So, the Yankees go into that. The Yankees go into the 6th inning. They were winning 7-4, right? Was it 7-4? Yeah, they were winning 7-4 going into that 7th inning. And we had the lead. It was 5-4, I think. And then the Yankees put 2 more in the bottom of the 6th. Were able to extend it to 7-4. I think Gary Sanchez had another home run. Or maybe it was that. I don't know. I was thinking it was something like that. And the Yankees were definitely we were winning 7-4. 7-4 is actually pretty good against the Orioles because the Yankees score a lot of runs against the Orioles. It was just a matter of our pitching could hold it down. And then the Yankees put in Andrew Heaney and he blows it. He throws 1/3 of an inning. He allows 4 runs. I mean, he got rocked. He allowed 4, and it wasn't even like he was walking the bases loaded either. He just got hit. 4 hits, he allowed 4 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned. He did not have a strikeout. He did not allow a walk. He did not allow a home run. He just got hit hard for singles and doubles. He allowed a lot of runs, and he just straight up could not stop the Baltimore Orioles. Because you know what? That lineup that the Orioles are throwing out there, that's a really dangerous lineup. Andrew Heaney can't even get through that lineup. Because the Baltimore Orioles, what they're throwing out there, that's a dangerous lineup. I mean, look at that lineup. That's a really dangerous lineup. Ooh, Stewart, Hayes, Arias. Oh, wow. Pedro Severino, that is a real 236, 176, 251, 205. That is a really dangerous lineup. Really. It's a really dangerous lineup. Heaney blows it again for the Yankees. And now the Yankees have to reset and see what's ahead. Because as I've talked about many times, and just because the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 against the Orioles isn't going to make me all of a sudden say, oh, Yankees got to play Toronto now. We're going to get destroyed. No, I still strongly believe that. I think Toronto's a very good team. I do. I talked about them at the beginning of the season. I'll still say it. Now, Toronto probably won't make the playoffs this season. They're 4 games out of a wild card right now. So, Mariners, they've really skyrocketed. So, I don't want to say that they won't make the playoffs, but I will tell you this is it's gonna be difficult for them. It's gonna be difficult for them because right now they're on the outside looking in, and technically, if the season were to end today, it would be Yankees, Red Sox. Yankees would be playing the Red Sox at home, and the Mariners would be the 3rd team, and then the Blue Jays would be the 4th. So technically, the Blue Jays have to jump the Mariners, then they have to jump either the Yankees or the Red Sox. So they're still in a little bit of an iffy situation. I do believe Toronto's still a good team, but now that the Yankees just lost 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays, that doesn't all of a sudden make me say, oh, Blue Jays, we're going to get smoked this weekend. That doesn't all of a sudden make me say that. I still believe that the Blue Jays are a beatable team. They're not on any unstoppable force. They're not the best team in baseball. I think the Blue Jays have a lot of talent. They got really good pitching. Their bullpen's not great, but they do have pitching. Robbie Ray's really solid. Hyun-Jin Ryu. They got good pitching. They got a very talented lineup. I mean, you could say 1 through 9 of that lineup. You can make the argument why. I mean, that lineup is very good. Vlad, Bichette, Springer. I believe Springer's on the IL now, but when he's healthy, Springer's in there. And they got good pitching as well. It's been the Blue Jays bullpen that's been the issue this year. It hasn't been anything else. It's been their bullpen. And you could say the same about the Yankees. Yankees and Blue Jays in a way are actually a little bit similar. Both got very talented lineups. I mean, no one's doubting the Yankees' talent in their lineup. I mean, geez. Aaron Judge is having a career year. So no one's doubting the talent in the Yankees lineup. What we are doubting is the bullpen a little bit, and now with Loiza going down, and you can say the same thing about the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have very talented lineup. No one's doubting Vlad or Bichette. They're both having great seasons. Vlad's having a career year. You can even say the same thing about Stanton. I mean, Stanton is having a great year as well. He's having a very solid season. But it's both teams' bullpens. So I'm not going to sit here and change my view on if the Yankees can win these 4 games. Not saying they're going to go out there and sweep. I don't think we will do that. Even if we were winning 15 straight games, I don't think we're going to... You don't realize how hard it is. Even if we swept the Orioles. I mean, let's be honest here, people. If we swept the Orioles, would that make you feel any more confident as a Yankee fan? Not really. It's the Orioles. But not, losing 2 out of 3 against them, does it maybe lower your confidence? Yeah, because it's the Orioles. But no matter if the Yankees got swept or swept the Orioles, I think we could all agree going into this series, the Yankees they have the talent. We are capable of beating the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are no unstoppable force. They're no dominant team. They might not even make the playoffs. I do believe the Blue Jays have a very good foundation. I like their team a lot, like I said, but they're not unstoppable. They're not a team that's gonna be dominant and win it all this year. They're just not. So, Yankees got to see how things play out. Forgot to put on my light. Yankees got to see how everything else. We got to see how everything else plays out here. But you got 4 against the Blue Jays, and today you got Taillon on the mound going against Ryu, and Ryu's a good pitcher. And then tomorrow you got Cole on the mound, and Cole is your ace. He's had a great season. I would definitely say, although here as a Yankee fan, you're not all worried about individual awards. But if you're a Yankee fan, you got to feel confident about Cole being on the mound. You're going against Steven Matz, who has struggled throughout his career. Not having a bad year this year, but isn't anything special. He's not a guy that I'm going to sit here and say, oh, man, we got to face Steven Matz. No. But you got Cole on the mound tomorrow. And then Wednesday, you got Cortez. And then Thursday, you got Monty. So you're actually lined up to have pretty good pitching over this stretch here. You got Taillon today. And then Cole, Cortez, Monty for the next 3 games. And you face some good pitchers from the Blue Jays. But the Yankees actually, if you were to pan out a series that you would, like pitching-wise, who would you want out there? This is about it. You got Cole, you got Monty, you got Cortez. You got Taillon, who has struggled recently a little bit, but we all have seen what he can do. And maybe he finds his ground a little bit today. You do face some good pitching from the Blue Jays, like Ryu today. Matz isn't scary. You get Alek Manoah, who's had a very good rookie season. And then you get Jose Barrios in the 4th game. He's solid as well. But the Yankees are throwing out their Cortez, Cole, and Monty, who have all had very good seasons. Monty, that's another thing. Monty does not deserve enough credit. Monty has had an excellent season, and not many people are noticing because, A, he's not a big, flashy pitcher. Like, he's not going to blow you away with any of his stuff. He's not going to go out there and strike out 15 like Cole can do. He's not going to have this sparkling ERA of 2.05 or 2.50 or Cole's ERA of 2.73. He's not anything. He's not like a flashy pitcher. But Monty is one of those pitchers that, every 5 days you can just trust that he is not going to go out there and strike out 15 across 8 innings. Maybe he will, prove me wrong, and allow 1 hit. But you can almost bet on him anytime he goes out there that he will give you a solid 5-6 innings of quality pitching. It might not be this electrifying stuff where he throws 101-mile fastballs up in the zone and he's got a curveball that drops like Clayton Kershaw's when he was in his prime. But when Montgomery goes out there, it is just a quality starter. He'll go out there. I know he pitched 4 2/3 last time, but let's be real here. 5 innings usually. And he might allow 2-3 runs, but he keeps the team in games. And why I think Monty doesn't get much credit or as much credit as he deserves is because when he pitches, the Yankees lose a lot. And I'll tell you why. When he's out there, Yankees don't give run support to him. Like, we don't give him any run support. That is one thing I will say about the hitting. Is when Monty's out there, he just doesn't seem to get any run support. Like the Yankees just forget about run support when he's out there. So many times, he gets an average of like 2 runs, I think, or something like that. So many times he'll be out there pitching. He'll throw like 6 innings, a 1-run ball. He'll go off and they'll be losing 1-0. And it's not like Monty gets lined up with all the other team's aces so the Yankees don't hit. No, it's just the fact that when Monty pitches, the Yankees just can't seem to hit for him. And Monty's had a very good season. So you got to feel confident about that. But, Yankees, they got to turn the page. Yankee fans, Yankee players, coaches, front office, the organization as a whole. This was an embarrassing weekend. I mean, you lost 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. And I'm not sitting here and trying to sugarcoat that. I'm frustrated. I mean, you really think I'm okay with us losing 2 out of 3 against the Orioles? No. But, fans, too many times, they dwell on things. You can't dwell on this. You got to reset. You got to hit the reset button. Because guess what? In 2 hours here, we got a game. And the Yankees will be playing the Blue Jays. They'll be playing a completely different color. So you got to forget about what happened over the weekend. You got to hit the restart button. And you got to try to, gain some, got to start a restart. Because Yankees, ever since they had that 13-game win streak and that's got snapped, they have struggled a little bit recently. And I think that's expected a little bit. You win a ton, then you struggle a little bit. The Yankees have hit a little bit of a rough patch. Is it a major rough patch? No, it's not. It's not like we're on a 10-game losing streak. We're 4-6 in our last 10, and we are on a 2-game losing streak. Or we still have an 86.3% chance to make the playoffs. And if the season were to end today, we would still host a wild card game against the Boston Red Sox. So, yes, this was a bad weekend. Yes, we lost 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. But if you also want to look at the other side of things, before you start to give up on the team and before you start to get all angry, we still hold the number 1 seed in the wild card. We still have an 86% chance to make the playoffs. And we would still, if the season would end today, and today would be a wild card game, the Boston Red Sox would be coming to New York to play the Yankees. So, still all those things are in play. Now, if we now get swept by the Blue Jays and we lose 4 straight, different story. That's a different story. But right now, things are still lining up that the Yankees are still going to make the playoffs and we're still going to be a wild card and all that. So this is a little bit of a rough patch. But that's how it's been this entire season. And that's how it's been this entire season. I mean, let's be honest here, people. Have the Yankees been consistent winning or losing? I know we just had that 13-game win streak. I understand that. I get that. But, I get that he had a 13-game win streak. And that was awesome, right? We were all so happy about that. But let's be honest here. Have the Yankees, other than maybe that long stretch, have had much consistency? No, we haven't. You start off the beginning of the season, it was awful. Then you go on this stretch, then it was awful. And if you break down the seasons, like 20 games apiece, like these 20 games, the Yankees were 15-5. These 20 games, the Yankees went 7-13. These 20 games, the Yankees went 15-5 again. Then these 20 games, the Yankees went, 5-15. That's how it's been this entire year with the Yankees, which is why our record hasn't been glistening. So it's almost like the time again. Yankees won 13 straight. Now we're going to lose a little bit. So we had that 25, 30-game stretch where we were like 23-7. And now we might go through this 15-game stretch where we might go 5, or this 20-game stretch where we might go 7-13, 5-15. That's how it's been this entire year. But the Yankees, that's where you got to find a way to just find ways to win. Doesn't matter if it's ugly. I said it. I said it today. The Friday game that we beat the Orioles, that was not an easy game. I mean, we went into extras, but we got the job done. I've always said this. It doesn't matter how you win. Too many people get caught up in how you win a game. Oh, well, what was the score? Oh, did you have to go to, what was the score? What, anything like that. Like, too many people get caught up in the score and how the game played out. A win is a win. I've always said that. And it might sound repetitive because I say it a ton, but it's the truth. A win is a win in any sport. So, same thing here with the Yankees. We did win on Thursday or Friday. It wasn't easy. But over the weekend, we lost 2. And those were 2 bad losses. And I'm telling you, if we don't put Andrew Heaney in yesterday, we don't lose that game. But you got to reset. And as a fan, after I talk about this, I'm done. You got to forget about the Orioles series. You got to. You can't live like that. You just got to move forward with things. That's how it is in sports. You got to move forward with things. Yankees had a bad weekend. Okay. It was a bad weekend. But now a new opportunity, like I said, in about 2 hours from now, there's an opportunity today for the Yankees to go out and start up a new series and start to get back to their winning ways against the Blue Jays. And we do start 4 against the Blue Jays. Then we have 3 against the Mets. Then we have a makeup game against the Twins. Then we have 3 more against the Orioles, and then against the Indians, then the Rangers, then the Red Sox, then the Blue Jays again. So let's be real here. Okay. The Yankees' schedule is not overly difficult here in September. It isn't. It really isn't. And it does stink that we lost 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, because that could have been an easy 3 wins. But you play the Orioles again. And am I going to go into that series against the Orioles scared because we're playing the Orioles? No. By that point, actually, the Orioles might even be worse, because at that point, that will be, September 14th through the 16th. That will be 3 games. By that point, there's a very good chance the Orioles have, a bunch of young players up, and they're just a bunch of young players up. There's a good chance about that. There's just a bunch of guys that they called up because their season's over. So, and then you have the makeup game against the Twins as well. Then you have the Indians and the Rangers, and believe me, those are not good teams either. So I'm not trying to look too far ahead, but I'm just saying, if you are a Yankee fan today and you're panicking and you're worried now that we're going to blow this playoff spot and not make the playoffs, I know I said that about the Orioles, but I don't expect us to lose 2 out of 3 against all these bad teams or lose 3 out of 4 against all these bad teams. I do expect us to bounce back. And today starts that. So you just got to reset. You got to reset with, you got to reset today. You go out, you get the Blue Jays, and if you can win today's game, that would be great, because then tomorrow you got Cole and you got to feel confident of that, and boom, just like that, you could have two straight wins. That's how baseball is. That's how baseball is. It is. You can go out there and you can go on this 13-game losing streak, and in a week later, you could lose 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. It's just how it is. So that's what I got for the New York Yankees and the little rough patch here for them. Hopefully they can bounce back here today. And I wouldn't, like I said, I'm just looking at the schedule. This just reminds me. The Yankees' losing streak here is not as bad as what the Mets were on. It's not even close. Not even close. What the Mets were on is much worse than what the Yankees were on. The Mets literally lost. They went 2-11 through a 13-game stretch. And the Mets are also in a much worse situation than the Yankees. They're not even in playoff position. They're either 500 or still a couple games below. I think they're a couple games above now. They might be like 1 or 2 above. They are still 7 games out from first place and still many games out of the wild card. And they're all over the place. So you cannot compare the Yankees situation here to the Mets, because the Yankees are not as bad as the Mets. Definitely not. But we do have to start to turn things around. All right, so that's what I got for the New York Yankees and the update there. All right, so coming up here, I want to get to fantasy football preview. I did my draft last night for my other league. So 2 leagues and then actually fantasy baseball, which is in playoffs right now, so that's great as well. 2 leagues. I wanted to get to both teams and just talk about in general fantasy football, some advice and roster and all that stuff, and as well, because this week there is going to be NFL games on this week, and I've said that about 20 times already today, but it never fully hits. I'll get to it coming up next. Alrighty, so we welcome you back here. So yes, it is week, and I was just about to say something, then I ended up just, you know, then I just wanted to say it now instead of talking about it all before. I've always said this, like even in any sport, like last season with the COVID season, there was definitely excitement because, and you could say that like now that there's finally football on because, last season with the NFL season, you had, no real, you had training camp that there was training camp that started in early August. You had no mini camp, no rookie OTAs, no training, like it was all virtual. About a month before the season, they were like, oh, we got training camp, and they had about a month to prepare. Unlike this, where it's usually, 2 months to prepare, plus mini camp, plus training camp, plus going into the building and doing all that stuff. So it was definitely interesting last season not having that. And when the season came around, it was like, okay, there's football on. And it's the same thing every year. I've always said this. Like, no matter if the season gets delayed, like MLB last season, with the season getting delayed, you're like, oh, there's finally baseball. But this season, the excitement was even more because we actually are playing 162. Crazy that the season is almost over. And in the NFL this season, it's even more exciting because we actually had a full off season. There's excitement around. There's always excitement going into the NFL season. And then plus, there's actually one extra game this year. So there's 17 games in 18 weeks, and that's exciting in itself. So I'm super excited for the regular season, as you could tell. It will start off on Thursday. Full packed week this week of football. I will probably do my division predictions for each team. I will try to either do them tomorrow, Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I'm not going to do it Friday because Friday will be my game picks. I might just do it Thursday, or I might do it earlier than that because Thursday will probably just be the preview. Thursday, I'll probably do my power rankings and then fantasy football advice. So I should actually probably just do my division stuff like Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'll decide it. So a big football week. But you got the Buccaneers Cowboys on Thursday. And then you got college football on Saturday, plus MLB as well, which I will be watching all throughout the weekend as well. Well, luckily the Yankees and the Jets don't interfere. The Jets have a 1 o'clock Eastern game on Sunday, and the Yankees actually have the Sunday night baseball game, which is, I believe, like 7 Eastern or something like that. So luckily that won't interfere. I'll watch the Jets, and then I'll definitely be watching the Yankees later. Completely after that later, like meaning completely all after all the 4 o'clock games as well, because that's when the Yankees will come on. But then you have college on Saturday, and then you have the first big Sunday in football. So we're only about 6 days away. And I get it, we have the Thursday night game. But as a Jet fan, I'm just super excited for Sunday. Like as an NFL fan, I'm ready for Thursday. Like I'm excited, all that Buccaneers, Cowboys. It's a good matchup. Buccaneers defending champions, Cowboys, big year for them, Dak, all that stuff. Anytime the Cowboys get a national television game, they're not a very liked team. They're America's team. That's in itself exciting. But as a Jet fan, I'm really just excited for Sunday as we'll line up against the Carolina Panthers. It's just crazy that I'm saying, like, it's game week. It's game week this week. Like, there is going to be NFL games on. I felt like just yesterday I was talking about opening day in baseball, and we were previewing the NFL draft. Now we're talking about week 1 of the NFL season and playoffs for baseball. Pretty wild. But with all that being said, just wanted to get kind of that off the plate because I always do that. I am so excited for the NFL season. I could go on a 20-minute tirade about this, and I've already talked about this here for about a couple minutes, so we haven't even started on the real topic. But like especially the Jets this season, because there's definitely excitement around the Jets. There's optimism. Last season I was going into the year kind of like, okay, well, I don't know what to expect because Gaze returned, and it was like, what is Darnold going to do this year? I was saying at this time last season. Same thing this year, too. I would interested to see what he does there in Carolina. We'll play them week 1. We'll get a good look at him early there. But it's like, now with Wilson, the excitement, it's like Saleh. Like, not saying we're going to go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl. That's not the expectation. But I definitely do expect to be more competitive and, be in more ball games, definitely get more wins than we did last season. There's definitely optimism and hope around the Jets, finally. So that's in itself is exciting. Also, what brings to the table come NFL season is fantasy football. And yesterday I've done my fantasy football draft. So I am pretty much done, unless if I somehow it probably won't happen, but unless if I get invited to a league within the next couple of days here and I join it and we do a draft before the season, these are the 2 leagues that I'm in. I think 1 year I was in 3 leagues, Yeah, 1 year I believe I was in 3 leagues. I was in the 2 regular leagues that I'm in, and I was in another league as well. But that's not the case. I just do 2 leagues now. Everybody always wonders how I do 2 leagues. It's pretty easy. I mean, it's not too difficult. Maybe balancing the rosters a little bit can be, if there's all these injuries. And I've always said this about fantasy. The most difficult thing about fantasy is if you're playing, like I have a different roster in both leagues. When I'm playing up against, someone in my one league that's got, let's just say, I'm just using this as an example. Spoiler alert, the league that I drafted in the last night, I have DeAndre Hopkins in that league. So I got DeAndre Hopkins, right? And in my other league, I don't have DeAndre Hopkins. So if I'm playing up against someone in my other league that has DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't, but in my one league I have DeAndre Hopkins, and obviously it's hard to root for because I want DeAndre Hopkins to do well, but I don't want him to do crazy well that week because then that means I'm going up against him. So that's the one most difficult part. That's why I try my best to draft similar just to then, but it also, the draft's completely different. I always believe that the one league that I drafted in last night, I always get more talent on my rosters because it's only 8 players, unlike my 12-person league that I was in last season. But either way, so last night on my draft, I've already read you my team that I did the draft a couple weeks ago, but I'll read it again and give you a refresher. I'll read you this is my team from the draft I did yesterday. So let's go. So my quarterback's Justin Herbert. I'll go through more in depth with all the picks, but let me just get to this. So I had the 6th overall pick, by the way. So my QB, Justin Herbert. Nick Chubb's my running back. My other running back's Antonio Gibson. This league, there's 3 receivers in here. My other league, I only have 2. So a little different there. By the way, I had the 6th pick, like I just said, and I took Nick Chubb with that pick. So I have Justin Herbert, Nick Chubb, Antonio Gibson. And then my 3 receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, and Amari Cooper. My tight end is Robert Tonyan. My flex is Allen Robinson. My defense is Vikings, and my kicker is Tyler Bass. And my bench is, which I couldn't believe I got him, Chris Carson's my bench running back, which is just goes to show you how different the leagues are because my other league, Chris Carson's my starting running back along with Alvin Kamara. This league, he's my bench running back. So it just goes to show you how much more talent is available in the later rounds in the league with 8 people than there is in 12 people. And I like that because you get more talent on the rosters. And you can notice too, my bench is much more talented than my other league. So my bench is Chris Carson, Myles Gaskin, Marvin Jones Jr., Tyler Boyd, Damian Harris, and Corey Davis. So I'm going 4 receivers in my starting lineup, 3 at the receiver position, and I'm going Allen Robinson at the flex. I still haven't made a decision yet what I'm going to do, whether or not I'm going to put Chris Carson in or Allen Robinson in week 1. Allen Robinson going against the Rams, very good defense over there. Jalen Ramsey, I just don't know about that. Or do I go with Chris Carson, who's got also going up against a very good defense in Indianapolis? That's also a question. So that's a question. Now, right now, not that projections mean everything, but Robinson in this league's a non-PPR league. My other league is a PPR league. So you do have to strategize a little different as well. Which is why this league, I think DeAndre Hopkins' stock actually rises in non-PPR leagues because he gets a lot more yards. He does get a lot of catches, actually, but he gets a lot of yards as well. I mean, look at this. 150, 130, 103, 127, 136, 169. So either way, he gets a lot of points in each league. And even in PPR league, he gets even more, but especially this league, you can do a lot. So Allen Robinson right now is projected 7.9. Chris Carson projected 9.1. It's so tough. I don't know who to put in, whether it's Allen Robinson or Chris Carson, because A-Rob is going against a really good defense, a really good secondary, but Chris Carson's going against a really good defense, a really good run defense. So it's kind of 50-50 there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I had Allen Robinson. I didn't, like I said, I like my team a lot. I definitely think my bench could maybe be a little bit better. Not a little, but I might have reached a little bit for some bench players. It was just how it kind of was playing out. I took 2 running backs to start off, and then I took 4 receivers after that. I took Hopkins, Jefferson, Cooper. Then I think I then took Allen Robinson. Then I took a bench running back. Then I took a tight end. Then I took more bench players, and then I took a defense and a kicker. I know Vikings defense and Tyler Bass were my last 2 picks. That's always how it is. You always want to take defense and kicker last 2 picks. No need to reach on a defense in like the 9th round. You want to stay back and pick those. So, like I said, I got, Jefferson, Hopkins, Cooper. I love that personally. I think I like that a lot. Hopkins and Jefferson, I'm really excited about. Amari Cooper, I'm excited about. Something about the Cowboys, I'm just a little worried about. I just don't know. Especially week 1, they're going against a good defense. Zach Martin, their best offensive lineman's injured. I'm a little finicky about what the offense could look like week 1. But hopefully, week 1 doesn't mean everything. Hopefully, throughout the season, they'll start to really gain their ground. I have Amari Cooper there. Allen Robinson I have as well. I have him on my other team. Allen Robinson, I've always said this about him. Like, he's not going to light you up. He's not going to light you up and go off every single week for, 50,000 points. But he is consistent. 7, 3, 18, 16, 9, 5, 7. Like, he averages around 8 to 9 points a week. He gets around that 8-point-a-week range. He'll have some big weeks, but he's a solid 8, 9, 10-point-a-week guy. He'll have some weeks where he goes off for 15 to 18 points. He also will have some bad weeks, but he stays around that range of 7 to about 10 points, which is solid for a receiver and solid for what I'm asking him for, because I've got 3, you could definitely say 3 top 10 receivers in the league. I don't need another, I got Allen Robinson on my flex, and I also have Carson. So I feel like the flex for this league is going to be kind of, moving in and out. I'm going to have Carson in there some weeks, Carson, Robinson. If Robinson's going against a weak defense one week, I might throw Carson in there. If Carson's going against a weak defense and Robinson's going up against a good defense, I might put Carson in there, sub out Robinson. Injuries, any injuries, bye weeks, all that stuff goes into the equation. So I actually do really like that Allen Robinson pick to have him at the flex. A guy who, we all know what he's capable of, a very solid receiver. And then same thing here with Chris Carson as well. You got to feel excited about him. I know injury's a little bit of an issue with him. He missed a lot of games last season. He went through a stretch there where he missed about 4 games in a row. I think he missed a total of 4 games last season. But when he's out there, he's good. You see some, he has a lot of big weeks. 18, 16, 7, 22, 13, 11, 16, 15. He's consistent. He has a lot of big weeks. And the thing with Carson is he won't load you up on the yards. He did not have one game last season where he rushed over 100 yards. As a matter of fact, he didn't have one game last year where he rushed over 90 yards. If you really want to get logistical, he didn't have the highest game last season that he rushed for was 80 yards. That was week 4 against Miami. He had 16 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, and had 22 fantasy points. My point exactly. He might not put up 150 yards every week, but he scores a lot of touchdowns. He gets a lot of carries, gets a lot of opportunities. And hey, 80 yards is 8 fantasy points plus those touchdowns. So he's a solid back. I love him coming off my bench. And in my other league, I love him starting. This league, I even like him even more coming off my bench. This is my team in my other league. A little bit similar. I have Carson. I have Bass. I got some guys on my bench that are similar, but a little different. So I got Tannehill, Kamara, Chris Carson, A.J. Brown, Adam Thielen, Robert Tonyan, Amari Cooper, Ravens defense, Tyler Bass. That's with this league. And in my bench is Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Trey Sermon, J.D. McKissick, Marvin Jones Jr., Jamison Crowder, and Devontae Booker. So the bench definitely you could tell is weaker, stronger in the other league. But this league, I think I might even have a better receiving core. A.J. Brown, Thielen, maybe. I don't know. It's so debatable. Both teams have talent, but we'll see here. And in this league, it's crazy because I'm doing PPR, so much more fantasy points. This league, I'm projected to have 120.4 points. And in the other league, I'm projected to only have 97 points because it's not PPR. But they're going to be changing some stats as well. So that's really interesting. But yeah, that's my team. Some people might disagree with me taking Nick Chubb 6th overall. I could look at all the draft picks. I could probably look at all the draft picks. I don't know exactly. I know when I got Nick Chubb, Elliott, Barkley, all those guys were all still available. I took Chubb because I trust him the most, and I believe that Chubb's one of the better running backs in the league. And he's actually projected to have a better year this year than he did last season, because last season he missed a lot of games. Last season he had 183 points. This season he's projected to have 222.9 rather. So a guy who last season, though, look at his numbers last season. When he was healthy, 4 points, 24, 22, 4. Then look, 18, 11, 23, 16, 22, 12, 11, 16. In the final, 7 weeks of the season, every single week except week 11, he scored at least one touchdown. Week 11, he had 20 carries, 114 yards, and still had 11 fantasy points. So Chubb is a really good asset. I can make the argument that Chubb could very well be the 4th pick in many leagues. He fell to me at 6. I'm not taking the risk on Barkley. Elliott had a terrible year for me last year. Chubb's a safe pick. And I love Antonio Gibson, what he brings to the table. Last season he had a great season. This year he's actually expected to get over the 1,000 mark. And look at what he did last season. 18, 16, 31, 18, 18, 11. 31 was that big week against Dallas. A really good running back. Really excited from what he brings to the table this year as well. So I love my running backs there. I'm very high on Herbert. I've talked about a ton. I'm extremely high on Herbert this year. He's probably I've said it, in terms of fantasy quarterbacks, maybe outside of Mahomes, I think he very well could have one of the best seasons for any fantasy quarterback. Really excited for what they've got working over there in with the Chargers. Hopkins, I've always said this. Hopkins last season had a solid year. And I've always said this. When Hopkins is good and he's out there, he's the best receiver in the league. I've always said that. Last season, Devontae Adams was, but when DeAndre Hopkins is on his game, he might have had a little bit of a down year last year, but when he's on his game, he's the best receiver in the league. And I love what Kyler Murray and all them got going over there, because I really believe, he's a really, I really believe he's a really solid player. We all know DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, we all know what DeAndre Hopkins can bring to the table when he's out there and healthy. We all know that. So, Herbert, Chubb, Gibson, Hopkins, Jefferson, Cooper, Tunyon, Robinson, Vikings D, Tyler Bass, and my bench is Chris Carson, Myles Gaskin, Marvin Jones Jr., Tyler Boyd, Damian Harris, and Corey Davis. So that's that league. My other league I've already shared. And, like I said, fantasy football right around the corner. That was kind of just a preview. I just wanted to read you a little bit of my team. As I've talked about before, there's always waiver wire moves that you can make. I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not a person that likes going out and, I'm not a person that really likes, I don't know, how do I word it? I'm not a person that really likes, making moves, waiver pickups, and trades before week 1. After week 1, free. You're free to do whatever you want. But I've always said it's I like to roll out the team out there week 1 and then see how everything else goes. And, by the way, I might have to make one waiver wire pick in my other league because Crowder might be out for week 1 with COVID, but either way, I think he'll be back for the next week. And he's not even a starter, so I could probably just keep him how he is. But either way, that's my team. Herbert, Chubb, Gibson, Hopkins, Jefferson, Cooper. Like I said, Hopkins and Jefferson, very like that as well. And Cooper, also another solid receiver. Really like my receivers there. So that's what I got for the fantasy football. And then it's Tunyon, Robinson, Vikings D, Tyler Bass. And I'll read my bench one more time. Carson, Gaskins, Marvin Jones Jr., Tyler Boyd, Damian Harris, and Corey Davis. So that's my fantasy football team. And let's get to the New York sports update and finish off everything that happened over the weekend. So yesterday the Giants won, Mariners won, Rangers won, Padres won, Cubs won, Brewers won, Braves won, Indians won, Royals won, Phillies won, Twins won, A's won, Tigers won, Mets won yesterday 13-6, so the Mets moved to 69 and 68 on the season. So that's that. And Yankees lost yesterday 8-7 as I mentioned earlier, and the Yankees moved to 78 and 58 on the season. Alrighty, as for today, we got the Orioles and Royals. I'll give Royals the win. Rays, Red Sox, give Red Sox the win. Tigers, Pirates, give Tigers the win. Brewers, Phillies, give Brewers the win. Reds, Cubs, give Reds the win. Rockies, Giants, give Giants the win. Dodgers, Cardinals give Dodgers the win. Twins, Indians give Twins the win. Astros, Mariners, Cheaters, Mariners give Cheaters the win. Let's see. Angels, Rangers give Angels the win. Alrighty, as for the Mets and the Nationals, Mets come in this game 69-68. Nationals come in this game 56-80. This game goes on today, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Mason. You could also find it on SNY. Mets got Trevor Williams on the mound. He's 4-2 with a 4.27 ERA, and Washington's got Patrick Corbin on the mound. He's 7-14 with a 6.26 ERA. The over/under for this game is set at 9. 72% of people think the Mets will win. Yeah, give me the Mets. Alright, as for the Yankees and the Blue Jays, Yankees come in this game 78-58. Blue Jays come in this game 73-62. This game goes on today, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Yes. The Blue Jays got Hyun-Jin Ryu on the mound. He's 12-8 with a 3.92 ERA. And the Yankees got Jameson Taillon on the mound. He's 8-5 with a 4.44 ERA. The over/under for this game is set at 9.5. And 58% of people think the Blue Jays win. I do think the Blue Jays will win. And the reason I say that is Ryu's on the mound. He's been good this season. For college football, Georgia won, Alabama won. So those were the two big, matchups I was talking about. Georgia really shut down Clemson. They really did. Their defense looked good. Notre Dame won, UCLA won, Texas A&M won, Florida won, Montana won, USC won, Texas won, Iowa State won, Cincinnati won, Iowa won, Oregon won, Penn State won, Oklahoma won, Virginia Tech won, Arizona State won, Utah won, Ohio State and Coastal Carolina all got wins. So great first week of college football. Alrighty, so as for fantasy baseball, it's playoff time in fantasy baseball. So let's see here. So I lost last week, 395 to 259. So I finished out the season 11-10, but now it's playoff time. So today I've got going Will Smith, Luke Voigt's not in the lineup, but he's in the lineup for me, but he won't be playing. Whit Merrifield, Gene Segura, Marcus Simeon, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Akil Baddoo, and Yadier Molina. And then I got Tariq Skubal on the mound. Yes, you've heard that right. There's some roster moves I made. So some injury updates first, and I'll get to the roster moves. Garcia hamstring back is out of the lineup Sunday against the Cardinals. Adam McCalvey of MLB.com reports. So he was out of the lineup. We'll see how everything goes with him. And then A.J. Pollock got put on the IL. So Pollock was placed on the 10-day injury list with a right hamstring strain Sunday. So he's on the IL. So I put him on I made some moves here. So I added Zach Davies yesterday. Then I dropped him. He did not have a good performance. So I added Zach Davies yesterday, dropped him. And then today I added Tariq Skubal. And then with the move of AJ Pollock going to the IL, I was able to also add Akil Baddoo, because with AJ Pollock going to the IL, he was an outfielder. I needed another outfielder. So, and then with Garcia being day-to-day, not sure if he's going to play, I needed to add Akil Baddoo. He's going against Pittsburgh, so feel confident about that. And I added Tariq Skubal as well, because he's going against Pittsburgh, and as well, you got to feel good about that. So those are the two acquisitions I made, Tariq Skubal and Akil Baddoo, and my lineup's full. And those are two Tigers players as well, but my lineup is full, and that's kind of what I'm working with here as we get ready for playoffs. So that should be good. I'm ready for playoffs. I'm excited for playoffs. So all right. So so that's what I got. So that's what I got for the podcast. I was just looking at this thing. So there's this thing like, when they do the selection show for fantasy, or not fantasy, for let's see here. For the college football. So on here it said Alabama, Georgia, and then it will be Texas, or it will be UCLA 3 seed, Texas 4, Kansas 5, and Montana 6. We all know Montana upset, and we all know how Kansas is. So that was funny. But yeah, college football's back. That was great this weekend. Great to see. And then, that'll do it for the podcast. Yankees today against the Blue Jays. Gotta find a way to bounce back. No other really way to put it. They were, they gotta be ready. So, they were, they weren't great over they weren't, they weren't. Yankees weren't very good this weekend. Sorry if I'm sound like I'm don't know what I'm talking about. I was just looking at this. So the Mets here, who are 69-68. You look at their upcoming schedule. I was just looking at this schedule. Like, their schedule right now, all these Mets fans are all over the place. Like, they think they have an easy way out. They have Marlins, and they got the Yankees. Then you look at this brutal schedule they got after that. It's just a brutal stretch of games that you just don't know, like, how they're going to be able to win. So, Mets too. They also got to get going. Both teams in New York got to find a way to get going here a little bit. We'll see how all that goes. But Yankees, Blue Jays today. Hope for a Yankees win. And, yeah, that'll do it. As always, thank you all for watching. Another good podcast in the books. A lot of football coming up this week. I'll get to all that. It's game week. Great to see. With all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. As always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.